bien sur le premier slide. Extra, je vais peut-être... Voilà, je mets tout le monde en mode muet pour démarrer. Voilà. Et puis, on va commencer la diffusion. So the participants are joining now. Hello, everybody. We are waiting until all the people have joined the webinar. All right. It seems we are stable now. So good afternoon. It's really a pleasure to welcome you to this webinar hosted by Innovo, by the Office of Economic Affairs, with different speakers. And the topic of this webinar is how to cope with the current crisis in the canton of Vaud. And it's especially targeted at foreign companies established in Vaud. And we will try to share the different support possibilities that have been put in place by the canton. And most importantly, also hear your questions and discuss. So let me get to the second slide. So the agenda will be a short introduction by myself about Innovo. We'll have Raphael Kont from the Office of Economic Affairs of the Canton of Vaud. Then we'll have a testimonial by Fabio Ronga, CEO of Becom, a company based in Vaud with subsidiaries abroad. And also some best practice sharing by Mrs. Marguera from the company Acadis. This will take about half an hour and will bring us to about 3:30, and then we'll move to the discussion and Q&A part. I also introduce, you see on the panelist, Caroline Graf, who is the project manager at Innovo and helping with this webinar. You'll see François Cornu, who's project director at Innovo, Fabio Ronga, Raphael Kont has presented already, Mrs. Marguera, and Frédéric Raymond, who's also project director. So as panelists, you have those three people, project directors from the ex-dev part of Innovo. People you recognize. Julia Blazer will join us in a while. So just some information about the tools you have in Zoom. Some of you are familiar with it, maybe not everybody. So you have the Q&A tool at the bottom of your screen, and we'll try to answer directly your questions in the chat or take it live afterwards. And during the Q&A part, we'll open the floor to you. You'll be able to raise your hand and we'll put you in among the panelists. So my name is Patrick Barbet. I'm the director of Innovo, and you see two logos here because we haven't yet our new visual identity together because we've just merged. And this is also the opportunity to explain a little bit. Some of you know, but the two promotion agencies of the Canton of Vaud have merged. The one dedicated to helping foreign companies to establish in Vaud, and the one dedicated to foster growth of innovative companies, startups, scale-ups, and SMEs in Vaud. we have merged and we are now an organization of 15 people. The core missions we have are the same. So invest, that's helping foreign companies come to the canton and also develop their business here. And the connect part is the traditional innovo part, supporting innovative projects with different tools. We also have new missions that we'll announce in more details in coming weeks. One is enhanced support for internationalization of companies based in Vaud, and also an augmented promotion activity, so communication about the innovation hub of Canton Vaud. 2-3 information also about the whole of Innovo. The usual support is up and running and has been since the beginning of the crisis. Everybody is working remotely. Your usual contacts are available, so don't hesitate to call and ask for different questions. But the usual tools, financial tools, advice, all kinds of normal tools are available, so use them as necessary. We've put in place a very special support with a 2-hour free diagnosis phase with specialists from the Platin Network and others who can intervene on different areas, how to optimize cash flow or how to re-establish your supply chain. And there are 60 or 70 different topics where you can get a troubleshooting 2-hour conversation with a specialist. So you find that on the Innovo website. And we've also an info page that's more dedicated to innovators with best practices of all kinds that you see on this address. It's also in English, so you just have to switch the language when you are on the page. We'll share this presentation anyway at the end. So without further ado, I'll give the word to Raphaël Cons, who's the head of the enterprises unit at the service of la promotion économique et de l'innovation. Raphaël, you have still your mic on mute.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure, and thank you for the invitation to this webinar. So I think we can directly go to the next slides. The idea is to present you and for those who already applied for the different incentives, that will be something already known, but the idea is to have just a summary of all the different announcements that have been made by the Confederation in terms of support of the companies in regard to this COVID crisis. So the first and the most probably important one is the measure we call the RHT, the partial leave. You know that the Confederation, but it is implemented by the canton. You can apply for all the stuff that you have to put in le chômage partiel, so in temporary out of work, up to 80% of the salary loss is taken in charge by the canton. It's up to 12 months maximum in total. The idea is that the payment will be made within 4 weeks. There is a form to submit and to fulfill. I just put the link. It's a very quick and easy form to fulfill. And what's interesting is that this measure is also now, especially during this COVID crisis, applying also for the founders and administrators of companies. You probably know that usually this measure, the RHT, in the ordinary regime, wouldn't apply for all the founders and administrators of companies, the ones that have who have shares in their company. But for this, the amount is not so much, to be frank, but at least there is a kind of compensation also for the founders up to 3,320 Swiss franc maximum. It's based on the 100% occupation time by the founder in its own company. What I have to say at the cantonal level is that there has been more than 15,000 requests within the last 10 days. So all the ones, the first procedure was to ask to all companies to submit the request by formal letters. The idea was that there is no loss of any letters and all have been scanned by the Service de l'Emploi. So it means that now they are dealing with, as I mentioned, more than 15,000 requests. And if you haven't received any, I would say, answer from the Service de l'Emploi, don't be afraid. They are treating all the files, but it is just that they need time. And of course, all this measure is retroactive. So it means that anytime the file will be treated by the Service de l'Emploi, you will have the retroactive payment, of course. We know that in these current times, cash is really key. And as long as you don't have any answer, there is no cash coming on your account. But please just understand that there is a task force dedicated to the treatment of all these requests. But yeah, we will reach probably beginning of next week, 20,000 requests. It's something really unusual. And it is impossible for the Service de l'Emploi to treat all these requests within 1-2 weeks. So don't be worried if you send them. There is no way to resend again because it will create confusion. And if there are some urgency, please let us know. So then the second is what we call the allocation perte de gain. So it's also for the indépendant, for all the persons. I'm not sure if in the audience there are persons in that case, but all the I would say businesses that have to close, because of the decision of the Swiss government, they can be compensated by up to 80% of the, let's say, salary, but as they are independent, it's more a revenue of their revenue. So up to a maximum of 196 Swiss francs per day. It's also available for all the parents that need to take care of kids of less than 12 years old and who cannot work at home, and it's within a maximum of 30 days. So all these parents can apply also for this APG for indépendant. Then there is this guaranteed bank loans, which covers 10% of the revenues, up to maximum 20 million. So all the request for a bank loan up to 500,000 Swiss francs is fully covered by the Confederation with 0 interest. And from 500,000 Swiss francs up to 20 million, there is an 85% guarantee of the Confederation. The rest has to be, the risk has to be taken by the bank, so 15%. And on the part of the Confederation, there is an interest of 0.5% interest rate, and the rest, the 15%, the bank can still decide on the rate of interest that they want to do. So it's a usual credit loan. So we can discuss on that later. And you have to really fulfill a form that is available on the EasyGov platform. But the best way is to really address directly the request to your bank, to have a phone call with your bank. And starting from there, it's easy. We have had some feedbacks, positive feedbacks. The money usually is coming the day after on your accounts, or maximum 3 days after the request. So it's a process that is quite quick. We have also had some companies that they got the money on their account the same day that they requested. And there are also some other measures. I won't go in many details. The deferment of payments of social insurances, which covers AVS, AI, APG, but also for the second pillar, the LPP. So you need to address this to, sorry for that, but because it's always in French, to your caisse AVS, your caisse de compensation, and also your caisse de pension if it's the second pillar. And there are also some suspension of default interest payments. Once again, I don't want to go in many details because we have everything on our frequently asked question. I will talk on that later. So second slide. If we move to the second slide, thank you. Just to remind you that at the cantonal level, the support from SPEI, the Office for Economic Affairs and Innovation, is ongoing. We are, of course, still granting SMEs and companies, startup, scale-up, dedicated to the industrial and technological fields as we do. So it means that we cover through financial incentives for projects dedicated to innovation, market developments, technical and scientific staff training, industrialization up to 50% of total cost. It's a cash envelope up to 100,000 Swiss francs within 5 years, 50,000 per year. So it's ongoing, and we are delivering the grants within a period of maximum 2 weeks. There is additional support and incentive to come, especially for startups and scale-up. There are different gaps that are not covered by the mechanism and all the incentives from the Swiss government. One is all the indépendants that are not covered by the allocation perte de gain, and for those, the Confederation is still working on a proposal to cover also all these indépendants. And this will come next week, probably. There is a next press conference from the Confederation, I think next Thursday. So, and then the second main, I would say, segment of our economy, very important in Canton of Vaud, is the startup and scale up. This is not covered by, this segment is not covered by the federal mechanism, as the federal mechanism requires that the company has turnover or revenues. So startups and scale up, especially for those who have a long cycle of development of products, especially in the life science and also some other sectors such as clean tech, there are no revenues for the next, at least for the first 5 years at least. So the idea was to think about measures, and we have done it at the cantonal level. Our government announced yesterday that we will put 20 million in direct loans through the FIT, the Foundation for Technology Innovation, very well known from Innovo, from SPEI. It's part of our ecosystem organizations. But just to mention that we already have decided how we will a little bit allocate, but the question is, the company can still not apply for this 20 million because we need to know what the Confederation will come up with also a proposal for the startups. There might be also a support at the national level from the Confederation for the startup and scale up. And once we know that, we will finalize our offer at cantonal level, and we will be able end of April, beginning of May, to come back to all startups and scale-ups and to say, okay, that are the conditions. Here is the form and the online platform that you can use to apply to these incentives. And the idea is to provide 2 levels of incentives. One, we should be able to deliver the incentive within 10 to maximum 2 weeks. And the second one, which go up to 1 million, it will take maximum 3 weeks. So the idea is to really help also companies that are impacted on the fact that they have a cash burn, and that is quite difficult during this time to really raise funds and to assure the negotiation with investors with a new round of financing. So finally, just to inform that there are useful links with all the general information first, and sorry for that, it's only in French, but we have one at the cantonal level, one website page dedicated to all information about the coronavirus issue, with a detailed frequently asked questions and also a chat bot where You can ask any questions and you find all the information depending on what you're looking for. There is also at the federal level a hotline where you can call anytime. I mean, anytime. There are from 7 to 12 and from 1 to 8 p.m. Sorry, from 1 to 6 p.m. So please check on the website of the State Secretariat of Economic Affairs. But there is this hotline that is also providing information. We at the Office for Economic Affairs and Innovation, you can send us any emails, we answer to that. And in case there are some urgency or problems, please, you can use and send me an email, but don't tell me when will my RHT request come, because there is so far, it's impossible for us to answer when, but be sure that the Service d'Emploi for the RHT is treating all the 15,000 requests that they've received. And I will just finalize to mention also one last information or one last data in regard to the bank loan that is fully covered by the Confederation. There have been more than 80,000 requests, which represent roughly 30 billions so far. So you probably have heard that the Confederation decided to double the amount dedicated to this guarantees for bank loans. Initially, they announced a 20 billion fund for that, and then they had to this week to announce that they will double it up to 40 million. So we are close to 100,000 requests for the whole Switzerland. It's really a big amount of money that they've been
enormous, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Raphael. Very useful. We have 2-3 questions, but we'll take them at the end. I want to give the word now to Fabio, who's the CEO of Become. And Fabio, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Patrick. So my name is Fabio Ronga. I'm born and raised in Switzerland, but I've been then I left, and I've been back in Switzerland 15 years ago, and created Become, co-founded Become 10 years ago. I was in the US before that. And just a few words on Become, because I think it's very relevant to the measures that we decided to implement in the last few weeks. So you understand why maybe they don't apply to you. So Become, we do very large deals with very large companies. So we don't do a lot of deals. It's a few every quarter. But there is no way we can do this deal over video conference. It's the ultimate enterprise, enterprise sales cycle, so very complex, and you need face-to-face. You need to create relationship with your customers. So what happened a few weeks ago? We were in a very high growth, always double digit, and with high numbers, and all of a sudden, everything is on standby, I would say. We have about a third of the people in Switzerland. The rest is in the US and across Europe. And the US is obviously our largest operation. It's about half of our revenue. And our customers, they are large, well-known companies. You have a few logos on the right. And we can see that even these companies are taking action to preserve their cash. So even if you have the best companies in the world as your customer, you are impacted with cash flow. We can already measure it. So if you can click, please. Just a few words, and I think then we have another session with Mrs. Margera, much more detailed. But quickly, in terms of working from home, by luck, because customers like Morgan Stanley and so on, we handle critical system for them, so they ask us to be ready for this type of a COVID event. So for the last 2 years, we have been practicing exactly that situation. So we didn't like it at the time, but now we really appreciated the fact that so working at home and was not a problem. The 2 words on this. Number 1 is communication. Communicate. So, meetings that I used to have on a monthly basis, I'm having on a weekly basis right now. and transparency. It's like people look for more than ever for a captain of the ship in this situation. But like, how do I know, right? It's like it's not like I have much more information and so on. So be very transparent about the mistake you make. I never change my mind as often as in the last few weeks, and be very open about this and encourage people to change their opinion on what's happening. If you can click, please. So, in around March, so we started doing, like new scenarios, like early March. I had a board meeting, I remember, on March 12, where we're announcing a downside scenario with, instead of that revenue to, like a little bit less growth, but we're still like dreaming at that time, right? For me, the reality struck around March 15th, and totally changed from offensive, even mildly offensive approach to completely defensive. And the first, so the first is planning for the worst. And if you can click, please. Planning for the worst is moving from growth. Basically you don't care about cash. Cash is always available, right? If you are successful, it's all about maximizing revenue. Going from there to that's it. You have, cash is king more than ever, and you have to maximize cash. So the first thing is so obvious that I didn't even mention it on the slide here, was to cut all costs. I don't think there is any single cost topic that cannot be cut or optimized. And it's only a question of Maslow pyramid. If you think that you cannot cut that specific cost, it means you are not on the right mindset yet, right? So cut as much as you can. And then if I compare to the other countries that we are operating with, I think Switzerland has been very effective at the end. And the RHT that Raphael just talked about, if you haven't looked at it yet, please look at it. This is designed for you. Whatever your field of operation is, there is a function that don't make sense anymore. For us, it was marketing. It's like our number one source of business is the big trade show in person in Las Vegas, typically. That's by far our number one source of business. That's over, right? And it's going to be over for a while. There is no reason to wait. You have those people, you have to put them on RHT and all the, all the, so for us, everything that is related to growth, new business and so on, it's asleep. It's in hibernation right now. So I'm simplifying here a bit, but there is no reason to wait, especially because it's retroactive. The sooner you don't want to have cash bleeding your operation, right? So the sooner you implement that, that's cash that stays in your operation. And the next one is the government credit that Raphael talked about. So I was probably one of the first one to apply for it, according to our bank, a big bank. And at the last minute, we pull out. Because I was in a mode of, we are in a crisis, we need to maximize the cash in the operation. But then I cooled down because we're in Switzerland. So it's not a first serve, first come, things are well organized and you have to follow the processes. And two things, so if you are thinking about taking this credit, which we are, I think by Tuesday, we will have filed for both the COVID-19 and the COVID-19 plus. But you have to make sure that you are not in breach of existing agreement that you have. And if we had done that without following some processes, we would have been. First, you might have some investor behind you, even in another country, like you have shareholder that might have to approve or might have to allow you to take such a loan. More importantly, you have banks. For us, that was the biggest. We had a bank in the US. At the end, we could not take a loan even in Switzerland without the approval of that bank. That was the situation that delayed the process for us. And if you don't have revenue, maybe new announcements from the Confederation or what Raphael and Patrick just announced and put in place with the 20 million Vaud credit is probably the way to go or to stay in close contact if you don't have revenue. In terms, as a Swiss guy, what I can tell you is so the Swiss people, they are very nice, right? So I think they have been very generous and very quick with these offers, but play the game. It's designed so that you play the game. Don't think about cheating. Don't think about, and more importantly, I think playing the game means paying the money that you have to pay, because if not, it's a domino effect. Okay, so I know it's tempting not to pay the office lease that are totally empty right now. It's tempting not to pay your supplier, but if you get the money from the government, I think the least you can do is pay this money out. At least that's what we do. And yeah, so if I compare to some other countries, especially to the US, I think the system that we have in place here is very, very effective. And if I compare to the other countries, you have other European countries that have effective measure, but they are not as generous. I think the 80% of the RHT and so on, this is really pretty good compared to what I see in the other country where we are operating. Okay, the office lease, one word on that, because you have a disposition right now where you can not pay for up to 90 days if you play certain games, and you can do that. But in Switzerland, normally all your lease contract, they have pretty hefty interest rates if you for late payment. And so if you have the cash, again, I think you should pay your lease. Can you click on the next one? So that's, planning for the worst. And as, I'm sure you are all in the same situation where you have to plan for the worst, but then, there is stuff happening right there, right? There is opportunity to be taken, and that's how we're going to survive. If you are not focusing on that second, so you have to do the first one, but you have to focus on the second one and hoping for the best. And so for us, we have updated our offering, and it's starting to work. So we can see some, surprisingly high level of sales activities again. But that means probably no cash, okay? But we'll be able to book revenues, and I expect to have really cash coming in on January 1st, 21. So, hopefully try to change that, not into a economic crisis or operational crisis for your company, but into just a cash crisis. And it's a perfect time to clean up, things that you wanted to do for, that that you had to do for the last few years. Now is the perfect time to do it. For example, look at the expensive software that you are using. Are there not monsters that you have developed over time that it's time to replace with a cheaper new solution? On our side, for example, we replaced Salesforce.com by HubSpot. I mentioned that because I think it resonates for many of you. That's a topic that, for us, it was like a 2-month project, a 3-month project that we thought it was something very complex that we're deferring. And we decided to do it because the cash saving was phenomenal. And in 1 week, last week, okay, we started on the beginning of the week, end of the week, we migrated everything from our CRM from one system to another. And so time to clean up and become efficient, I think, is key. And then you have to cherish your customer. It's they are the one that will give you business, if any, during this year. So it's really time to talk to them, to ask what you can do for them. And finally, the last one is preparing for surprise. It's I don't know how many times I radically changed my view. I think on the beginning, like many of us, I was optimistic, right? Minimizing the issue, and I moved totally on the other side. And I think you want to encourage your people and the people around you to do the same. So resistance to change will be the killer, right? We have a new piece of information. Let's embrace it and let's adjust immediately. Okay, you have my email address on the bottom in case also for later you want to exchange.
Thank you very much, Fabio, for this testimonial and those good advice. Thanks a lot. We'll move now to Mrs. Marguera from Acadis, and I'll give you the word.
Yes, hello everybody. Thank you for inviting me. So my name is Martine Marguera. I work for Acadis, which is a strategy consulting organization. We are 3 consultants based out of Lausanne, and the main office is based out of Paris, where there are about 15 people over there. And actually, we are still able to work. We are mainly working on digital transformation which has been pretty brutal since the last few weeks. For some of our clients, the digital transformation has been enforced, and actually we are still able to work pretty well virtually with our existing customers. The difficulties that we are facing right now is more for in terms of business development and to contact new clients, which is a little more sensitive, and virtually it's a little bit more difficult. But still we have been able to keep working on the ongoing missions. And we have put in place some of a new way of working all together and with our clients. And we decided to document this way of working, the new way of working as best practices in this very extraordinary situation. We also tried to identify some opportunities that we will be facing with this exceptional crisis. I'm gonna go through quickly through the best practices that we have documented. I'm not going to go into more detail since I will leave the time to discuss about all these previous topics, but I'm going to go through quickly. We have identified two different point of views. The first one is the point of view of the manager or the steering people in the company. And the other point of view is the from employee perspective. So for the manager perspective, first we have created a task force to be able to steer the crisis and to be able to manage all the different emergencies, the ongoing assignment as well, but also the emergencies in terms of new measures, or also to ensure that all employees are being able to keep working and that everybody find the right place in this new configuration. Then we communicated with clients, partners, and suppliers. We found it important to mention that we were still operational and that we were ready to support them on the ongoing assignment mainly. We try to keep co-workers motivated and unified, especially in the Paris office, where the people used to meet in person in the office, and now they are all isolated. So we kept the steering activities and the team meetings virtually. Actually, it's interesting because for us, the Swiss team, we were already used to the virtual exchange with the colleagues, since we are only 3 people here in Switzerland, and we used to communicate with the Paris office virtually. So we were still used to it, and actually it's kind of we feel closer to the Parisian team. Since everybody is isolated, because we were, of course, not included in the coffee break meeting in the Paris office before, and now we are part of it since it has become virtual. And actually, the number 4 is promote Teams rituals. We, for example, we created a coffee break every day between 1:50 and 2 p.m. Virtual coffee break, and where we can meet if available and keep in touch with the co-workers. And actually, it's one of the measures that works very well, where we can discuss anything, and it puts a pretty positive atmosphere in the team. The number 5, we make sure to respect discipline and team management and time management. sorry. It's very important. It seems obvious, but it's important to respect time, the starting time of a meeting, and also the duration of the meeting, because everybody has a pretty busy schedule, and we try to be serious about that. The number 6, we enforce the right to disconnect. We found out that there was different kind of situation, especially with or without children, and the people without children, they have difficulties to actually disconnect when working, because they don't have official office hours. And people like me with children, the problem is a little different, because we are enforced to disconnect, but the difficulty is more to respect official office hours. It's kind of a challenge. The number 7, collect regular feedback from employees. It's also important to keep in touch with the employees. In the office, we have had people who got the COVID-19, and actually, so we need to keep in touch and to make sure everybody is going as well as possible in this extraordinary situation. The number 8, take a step back, and actually, as Fabio said previously, it's a good time to brainstorm, to think about some challenges that we don't have time in the usual situation to think or to think about innovation, or in our situation, in our context, to think about new business models. We were always thinking that the digital transformation is more a broader transformation than just digital. It's also society transformation, and I think we are right now facing this reality, and it's also probably an opportunity to think about new business model and the world of after COVID-19. Number 9, encourage self-training and knowledge sharing. We put in place some knowledge sharing time, internal training, and we also promote the self-training for the employee who would have more time for it. And the number 10, support a healthy and balanced lifestyle. We share some ideas and some ideas to make sure the lifestyle keep balanced. This is the manager point of view, and actually we have the employee point of view. That's pretty similar, but the next slide. But it's more on the employee perspective. We can we can go to the next one. Yes, and actually define a comfortable workspace to be able to work in a distraction-free. No, that's the previous slide, please. Could you put me the previous one?
That's it. That's it.
Ah, okay. Thank you.
Thanks,
I didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
To get a distraction-free space, which is not always easy, especially with a family with children. And actually to get informed through official recommendation, there are lots of recommendation, lots of information, official information. That's important to get the official one. The federal office has put lots of information. In France, they have also published some information about being a parent and working from home with the children at home. So that's a very detailed situation and some solutions to the challenge.
If I may just, Martin,
yes.
This is the other side of the recommendation from the employee point of view.
Yeah, we can switch to the.
Absolutely. So people will get the slides, but do you see one or two that are especially important seen from the employee point of view?
I think the one to maintain the relationship, I would say, to be able to keep in touch as well with coworkers and with managers, to be able to get these rituals, official and less official, as like a coffee break. I think this is in our context, in our kind of industry, it's very key, I think,
Okay.
and that's what I would say.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We have a couple of questions, so we need to move to the Q&A part, but thank you very much. Here are your contacts, and anyway, it will be shared with the participants.
Exactly.
We'll move to the Q&A part. We have already one or two that are maybe for Raphael. Raphael, if you can maybe answer directly, or if not, we'll direct people to the appropriate hotline. But you have to unmute. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
What?
Is
One
it
of
okay?
the. Yeah, we
Can
hear
you
you.
hear me? Yeah.
What,
So sorry.
Yeah, the question about you know, the support for founders and administrators that's limited to 3,000 and some per. Is it per month or for the whole period?
Per month. It's upon 100% occupation rate. So it means that if you have a contract with your own company, I don't know, of 70%, it's 70% of this amount, but it's an amount per month.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And this is per employee, huh?
And per employee, per founder or per I would say administrator of the company. So
one question we have also is it still possible to apply for a RHT?
Yeah, for sure. There are no limit to the budget. So as long as you fulfill the criteria, the form is very easy. Once again, if you need, you find everything on our also website where you have the direct link to the form. But of course, you just have to be patient, and once again, the payment will be done within a period of 4 weeks. Sorry, and there will be a retroactivity that will take place if the RHT measure, has occurred, or if the situation has occurred even starting from mid-March.
Very good. And one question is about when you apply for a loan through the bank, the federal support, you have to bring a proof to confirm you are affected by the coronavirus. Can you, in just one example, that explain what kind of proof that would be?
Yeah, I must just, there is one sentence you have just to say if you correspond to this criteria. But it's mentioned, I say it in French because I have the form in front of me. Le preneur de crédit est gravement atteint sur le plan économique en raison de la pandémie COVID-19, notamment en ce qui concerne son chiffre d'affaires. So it's heavily impacted. But the question is, as long as you can prove any time that you have had an impact on your turnover, even if it's something in terms of forecast, you can fulfill and you can stick and put yes, because it's something that is not the only thing, as mentioned by Fabio before. just be transparent, and you need to be transparent in a way that you don't hide things. But if you can prove that your turnover has been impacted, just go for it and ask your bank. I remember, please have a first contact with your bank. As long as you have a bank account, you have a banker in charge of your bank account. So please contact him and also ask him. But I would recommend to say, as long as you can say that you have an impact on your turnover, do it.
Excellent, thank
There
you.
There is no clear objective elements. I mean, 10% of the turnover is just how the Confederation take in charge the support, but it's not meaning that you need to demonstrate that you have a loss of 10% of your turnover. It's you with your own sensitivity to what's happening in your business that you have to decide.
Okay.
If I may add something, Patrick, because I think it's important.
Go ahead, Fabio.
And what Raphael, what you just said is about the bank is key. I mean, everybody has a relationship with a Swiss bank, and those are the people that you want to channel all these questions. Especially, I saw your question. The person who is asking this also wants to apply to COVID plus, okay? And your counterpart, the people you're going to have the discussion about COVID plus is not the government, it's your bank, and your bank, they know you, they know your business. They will tell you if by luck you don't deserve that credit. I think they will be the first one to tell you. So really talk to them as soon as possible if you haven't done so yet.
Excellent, thanks a lot. We have a question about if we can help if somebody wants to employ new people right now. So I'm not sure what's the context. Is it a work permit problem, or is the help of what nature it is? Of course, if it's a work permit, we can help, but maybe you, in 1 minute, you raise your hand and ask the question on the panel. So yeah, okay. So we'll move maybe to the part where people who want to interact.
Patrick, sorry,
yes?
If I intervene, there is one question. I don't know if we answer. What is the maximum RHT per month per employee?
Yes, please.
So the maximum amount that is taken in charge by for all cantons, it's determined by the Confederation. It's 12,350, and you calculate the 80%. That's the maximum amount. So if somebody earns 20,000 per month, the maximum is 12,350 per month, and you calculate the 80% on that.
Okay, very good. So let me bring Rudolf here. Hope that works. You should be promoted to be in the panel. And if it's not the case, it's because I haven't practiced enough yet. So yeah, here you are, not visible yet, but
perfect.
Yes.
Hi.
Can you say just in 30 seconds who you are and what company you represent?
Yes, Christopher Rudolph, Vaud Global at the Biopol. So we're a data science company, and we were just thinking about hiring some new young data scientists, which seems potentially a crazy idea, but actually I think we need to do it. Because we do still have work we need to service. And I was just wondering, we are seeing a slowdown at the same time, but at the same time we need to balance these things. So I just wondered, are we still supported to employ new people, or all these help for existing employees?
Absolutely. And I think maybe Frédéric or Julia could answer that.
Yes, of course. So the typical support for the state of Vaud, for instance, for the the education fee that is offered by the canton still applies. So for a data scientist, this would certainly be possible for you. And beside that, I think, of course, the situation is a bit complicated for the recruitment companies as well. But for sure, I can also help you get in touch with a few companies. Maybe this is a bit unfocused compared to the current discussion. I would propose you that we discuss that together remotely with great pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
And just probably just to add, in addition to what Frédéric said, if you are eligible to these incentives, I don't really understood the name of the company, but the training staff for hiring new technical and engineer staff, the one that Frédéric mentioned with the education, we take 50% of the salary during 6 months, maximum 15,000 per employee. It has to be related, and it's really upon also what we call a training plan. So you need to not only hire, you need to submit the contract, and also you need to submit a hiring plan. But this is possible for all R&D and manufacturing, for all the companies that are deploying R&D and manufacturing activities. So if you are in R&D and or manufacturing, these incentives should apply for a new data scientist.
Okay, Christopher, I'm really sorry you're not visible. There is something I still don't understand with Zoom. In principle, you should be with video, but you aren't. Sorry.
No problem. Thank you very much. You've answered my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have a question they want to share on the panel? So raise your hand if you want, or if you want to add a remark, or maybe if you have an experience with already receiving some support, RHT or of another kind. If that's not the case, that's perfect. It means we've been relatively clear. Does anybody from the panel have something to add? For example, Frédéric, Julia, or François?
Maybe a very general remark about all the COVID-19 help from the Confederation, and the fact that we see so many companies asking for this support. Somehow it's a very positive sign, and I think it's good to also finish this webinar with a positive sign. I think this really means that the companies believe in their business and are confident that the situation will be better again very soon, because otherwise it would be useless to ask for some money. If you cannot reimburse a credit, it would be just silly to do that. So I think it's a very positive sign, and yeah, we just hope that the situation will be much better pretty soon again. And yeah, we are expecting the Confederation also to take the right measures to come back to work very rapidly.
Raphael, I see there is still one question. I'm not sure you have the answer about the validity of the RHT application. When does it start? When does it stop? You are muted. Sorry.
Sorry for that. Yeah, it starts from the day you can demonstrate you can justify that there is, as Fabio mentioned, your staff involved in all the marketing and trade that should have gone to any trade shows this spring. I mean, from the day that all these issues happen and all this confinement happen. So it starts when you can also clearly demonstrate that you have been impacted, and it finishes in its maximum 12 months for each person. So hopefully our economy will be in a better position and everything will be set up like it was before within 12 months. But nothing will be the same, but at least you know that this measure can go up to 12 months. And you have to, every month, you have to fulfill what we call a décompte and to send it to the caisse de chômage for 6 months, and it can be extended up to 12 months.
Okay, very good. So I think we are right on time. We want to thank everybody for participating, and especially the panelists for their interventions. And we would like to wish you very good Eastern weekend, and also to stay healthy during that period. And we are available should you have any requests, normal or in relation with the current crisis. Thank you very much. Have a good time. Est-ce que j'ai arrêté la diffusion?
On reste entre nous ou pas? Non, enfin, on n'a pas. Les panélistes ont.